So that's tapping. And after I've kind of like captured that natural relaxation response, because this is kind of it's not just negative reinforcement, it's like a natural somatic release to this really light rhythmic tapotement, non-escalating tapotement. After I've captured it, whether that's with just the pressure and release sort of thing or positive reinforcement, then I can start generalizing it to other objects. So maybe I could do something like, let's see, he's like kind of coming out of it. I could take the stirrup and go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay. And you can hear him like that kind of nervous snort. So I'm asking him, what is your default response to stress? Because these things stress him out. And right now he's not really relaxed. Like he has little moments where he goes in and out, but right now this is more about impulse control. Like, what is your default response to stress? Fight, flight, freeze. Let's try something else. Let's try a relaxation response. That's cat H. So he's learning to use his brain instead of just his feet, which is definitely a mandatory life skill if you're going to be in the human world. So no, he's not super relaxed yet. And at this stage, we can't really just do strictly positive reinforcement because it's more reinforcing for him to feel like he can control this scary stuff. So we're just working on impulse control and starting that default response to stress, this relaxation posture. As we move along, that posture in and of itself is going to become reinforcing. And the fact that he's not having to go into these stressful states of fight, flight, or freeze anymore is going to be reinforcing. So you wouldn't necessarily have to use positive reinforcement. I choose to. I'm going to step back in and do counterconditioning with positive reinforcement because I think it's more efficient, more effective, and I like the results better. But you don't have to. So, Kitty. I just did lots of stuff like that, just anything in the saddling process, like fixing the saddling thing. Fixing saddling, that's what it looked like. So, I would just introduce a new stimulus, wait for his head to go down, stuff like that. And I wouldn't move on to the next step until I could get a full postural release all the way to the ground. Then I would move on to the next thing. So, I would do the saddle pad until I could get that, and then I'd move on, do the saddle, and then I'd move on and start doing cinching simulations, which, instead of cinching, just doing a pull and getting his head to go down. And then I would finally cinch it. Breast collar is mandatory when I'm doing these until I know that the horse is not going to be reactive and buck. Because this horse is a result of not using a breast collar. He got several saddles off, kicked several saddles off, and now that has become his default response to stress. In addition to his hindquarter disengagement being the default response to stress. So, maybe pulling on the cinch. So he's at this stage where it's like he knows he can control this kind of stressful stimulus by putting his head down, which is reinforcing. But he's also right on the brink of, that's a cue that he's going to earn a reinforcer, which is why I love using the positive reinforcement. So not only am I giving him control of this scary stimulus, but it's starting to become like a positive thing, like, yahoo, like, do that scary thing so I can get my food. Back cinch. Just anything I can think of that might trigger him. I've had horses, if you mess with a breast collar, it makes them, explode into a bucking fit. Who knows? Just anything and everything like this. Oh, that's scary. His default response is still to raise his head, but after a few seconds, he goes, oh yeah, and he corrects himself, which is pretty cool.